That last one was good. It was 807, almost an 808. That would have been perfect, but that's fine. So we're back. What were we talking about, hon?
Well, I did want to pay taxes. That
Okay,
was the
so
main thing.
do you still think that that's important to the psyche of someone who's trying to survive better, and they have a government whose main interest is limiting their ability to survive better, and you're constantly having to report, pay your taxes here, pay your taxes there, pay your taxes everywhere.
Everybody's tried it. It doesn't work. I mean, Texas couldn't get along because they didn't have taxes, and one guy was keeping 1 million or billion. Rich guy had a ship and was keeping Mexico at bay, but
Well,
they
okay,
couldn't get along without taxes.
what period was this in?
Before Texas joined the Union when they were independent state.
Okay, so what was the political breakdown for that? What were the dynamics? Who was involved? Who was in play? Who was controlling who? Who was
Well, Texas had won the revolution against Mexico, Santa Anna.
okay by defeating Santa Ana?
Well, yes, with the help of the Yellow Rose of Texas, a black woman
Okay,
who signaled them when she had
she
Santa
was a
Anna
spy.
in bed.
She was a spy.
When she put out the signal and they attacked
Done
and
well.
caught
It was
Santa
done well.
Anna.
Well, wasn't it Bill Pullman didn't
Yeah,
he?
he did that. Was a true story.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a
I thought
black
that was
woman.
yeah,
The black one was Yellow Rose
yeah.
of
I like
Texas.
that. I liked it.
Yeah.
I liked the dynamic and
But Texas had their independence. They were
in
independent
that yeah.
state, and they
Sometimes,
tried to stay
sometimes.
independent, but they just couldn't. They didn't have the money without taxes. They were trying to keep Mexico at bay, being taken over again. So they joined the Union. No thanks to the South. Polk finally got them in the Union, but the South said, "We don't want it. We don't want it unless it's a slave state. We don't want anybody to join the Union unless they're a state." The South was never a good place. They didn't
Well,
want the South.
wait a minute, hon. I would think that the people in the South, this has been my experience with them, and I'm sure you've met a few, uh, that would take umbrage to that. It's like, okay, I've run into some really generous, kind, great people that,
Maybe so, but the majority of the people during Polk's presidency, the majority of the people in the South, there would be no California, there would be no Oregon, there would be no Southwest Territory. It was up to the South. They didn't want it unless they didn't want any state to join unless they were a slave state. Now, what did that have to do with their state? California didn't raise cotton. I mean, Texas didn't raise cotton, Oregon didn't raise cotton. What did they need those states to be slave states for? But they held out and uh, trying to keep. And I think Texas finally considered to be a slave state so they could join the Union. But California and New Mexico didn't, or Oregon. They joined without that. So no, that was back
so would you
then.
say that, how would you describe that? It's like, would it be a battle between the forces of good and evil, or what would you say? What would that be?
Well, battle of people who wanted a slave state. I mean, what do you call that? Evil, I would imagine.
So, okay, so let's say that, not let's say, the history of that period, so they say, you better say it, is that,
I'm still not fond of the South, honey. I kind of put them up with the Taliban. I call them the the U.S. Taliban because they want to take away women's rights to their own reproduction. I mean, they want to put us back in where we just have to spew out women have to have 6 or 7 kids or something. That's what they want in the South. It's the majority of them, not all of them, but I would say the majority of the Southerners in the Tea
so you
Party.
would say that part of the richness of the South is that there's a very strong patriarchy operating down there.
Yes, I would think that. But the women are in the South are the same thing. They are with it. I mean, I don't understand it. I mean, just think about it.
How many? Let me ask you something. Have you ever had a good friend that was a Southern woman?
I'm from Texas.
I know, but I mean, like Alabama, Louisiana, uh, Western Florida, those areas.
I can't remember having any white friend. I've had black friends from the South.
Uh-huh.
I
Okay.
don't remember
Okay.
any white. Maybe my memory isn't that good, but I don't remember any white
So you didn't
friends.
really ever cultivate a relationship with
No, I
a
left
Southern
Texas
woman.
at a very young age,
Yeah.
but Texas wasn't
But you,
really the South as people think of the South.
no, well, it's like started going from Southern to Western is like that.
Yeah, it was
That
a Western state.
Yeah, it was kind of like this.
Yeah,
It would be a more like a river flowing. It's like one turn would get you this, and one turn would get you that. And in Texas, particularly, they've had a lot of different transitions with, that lonesome dove energy, that kind of thing, and that mythological stuff, and the Texas Rangers and all of that stuff.
yeah. In Texas, I think poor white women and poor black women were probably in the same boat. I mean, there wasn't very many opportunities for women, white or black, to.
And why would you? So that's another indication of a very strong patriarchy, right?
Well, I don't think Texas was a patriarchy that much. There just wasn't that much industry in Texas. There were ranchers and cattle ranchers and sheep ranchers and farmers and
Ass kickers one and
oil
all.
men
Ass kickers one and all.
and
I mean, you couldn't get by in that place without
there
being an
just
ass
wasn't a
kicker.
lot of industry or
Rough
jobs for
dudes.
people.
Rough dudes.
So
Rough dudes.
my mother left Texas coming to California during the war because she thought she
I'm
could
an Okie.
work for the be one of
Goddamn
those
right. Some bitch.
riveters, and that they wanted during the war. They wanted women to go to work, make for the uh, as welders and all that for the thing, but
Hold up, hold up. Be back in a sec.
yeah.